So a few years back, when I was in Form 2, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor in my pituitary gland. And at that time, actually what happened is, one day when I was in class, I went out and suddenly I felt so dizzy, then I just collapsed. And it was on the stairs, so I tripped till down. And what happened is, the next minute, when I woke up, I found myself at the hospital. And so there is where all of this started. Like, I started having headaches. I started forgetting in class. Like, I would study and I would have my book, and when I flip the page, I would forget what I studied, like what I read the previous page. And all these things started happening, but I never took it into consideration that maybe I would be having a brain tumor. So I just thought, because I was in Form 2, and it's a class that had a lot of exams, a lot of preparations for the national exams. So I thought maybe it's because of all those, like all that pressure. So when we went to the hospital, they just said that maybe I'm having a lot of fatigue. That's why, because I was also a leader in school. So all these things were just too much for me at that time. Now, later, it kept on going like that. Like, I kept on fainting. I kept on having all these things, all these headaches and stuff. So it got serious. And the teachers started noticing changes even in my grades. I started dropping, and it was easy for them to notice that because I was a leader, and you know, being a leader in school, like you have to be a mirror and stuff like that. So the teachers were a bit scared and a bit shocked to see how I was failing, and they wanted to know why, the reason to that. So there's this other day when I fainted again, and I went to the hospital, and this time the doctors advised my mom that maybe we should have MRI, I think it's that, yeah, and also CT scan. So my mom was like, okay, fine. So I did the CT scan, and that's when she was called, and the doctors told her that they diagnosed me with a brain tumor. So she started asking, like, how did she get it and stuff like that, but I wasn't inside. So my mom just told me that I had a brain tumor, but she didn't explain. Now, for me, at that time, to be honest, I never really liked, okay, I did like school, I did like studying, but not that school, and because of all those pressures and stuff. So at the end of the day, I took that as an advantage of me going back home. So I was so happy about it, though, that I'm sick and it's serious, and teachers knew that it was serious, and I had all these favors as a person who has, you know, a brain tumor. So I would go to sleep while my friends are studying and stuff like that. But this one holiday that we had, actually I kept on going back home because of the sickness. But again, when I get back home, I would meet my sister. So at that time, my sister started going to the ocean, and we were still like, my parents and I, and the rest of the siblings are Roman Catholic. But my sister started going to the ocean, and she was baptized. So she started showing me all these, at that time, there were weird videos about people like going to heaven and about faith. And for me, I knew God, but not that deep. I just knew that there is God, you know? And so I was so scared, and I felt like, okay, I really want to know God, because these videos were scary, but again, you'd feel like you want to know more. And we would like listen to the songs and stuff like that, and they would just have a message in me. Now there's this time when I came, and my sister was like, invited me to the church. So I went to the church, and I felt so different. I can't really explain the feeling, but it was just so powerful. I felt so different, to the point that when I went back, I had to go back to school. But when I went back to school, I kept on asking myself that, who's this God? Like, okay, not literally asking myself who's God, but I felt like I needed to know more. And it was a boarding school. So at that time, the only prayers that I would know, or the only way I would know how to communicate with God, was through my rosary. So I would read, because I was a Roman Catholic. So I would read my rosary like every morning and every night, and we were preparing for the national examinations. So I would read even before the exams and after, and not for the aim of for the aim of passing, because all teachers knew that I was probably going to get a division 4 because I would forget everything that I study. And we were ready for that. And we were even ready to go and have surgery immediately after I'm done with my Form 4 examinations. So going back, I had this from Form 2, Form 3, and Form 4. The doctors kept on taking the CT scan tests, which took, I had 6 CT scans, like the x-rays, and they were saying that. So every year I would take like almost 2. So Form 2, 2 x-rays, Form 3, 2 x-rays, and Form 4 as well. So that makes 6. And so by Form 4, when I was done with my nationals, I was supposed to go for a surgery. Now going back to the hospital so that we can see, because it was 7.5 millimeters length, going to the hospital to test and see how far it has got so that we can go to India for a surgery, the doctor said it's not there. And we were shocked, to be honest. So we went to 3 different hospitals testing, and the doctor said we can't see anything. And it was so, I don't know, we were so shocked because it was just recently when I tested before my exams, and it was there, 7.5 millimeters, and now the doctors are saying it's not there. And I was preparing myself within 3 days to go and do the surgery. So we wanted to believe that, and my mom was like, okay, we need to just believe that it's not there. So I started believing that it's not there. But again, that thirst that I had of knowing God kept on, like, it grew stronger. So I started going with my sister to church, and I just started praying with her and stuff like that. Now the miracle came when actually the results came out. Now the first miracle was knowing that it's not there, but I still didn't consider it that much because I never really cared, and I never really knew how a brain tumor is so bad and the effects and stuff like that. But when the results came, I did so well, very well, and everybody was shocked to see how I performed pretty well. So there is when I remember I went to church that night, and I remember it was Valentine's. It was 14th February. That's when the results came out, the Form 4 results. And I went to church at St. Peter's. I prayed, I cried, and ever since, I believed that, okay, there is God, and I started digging deep. I started asking my sister, and I also told my sister that I also want to start going to the ocean, and that's actually when I also got baptized after, in Form 5. But literally, my testimony is basically that my turning point of the life that I used to have, the notorious girl and all that, not believing in God, it all happened when God did this miraculous thing to me of saving me from that terrible disease that I had, if I should call it a disease. But that was just so powerful. And that's when I started believing in God. And also, one thing that I can say is that, it doesn't matter how you talk to God. It doesn't matter how you know how to talk to God. But at the end of the day, God sees our hearts. And what I kept on telling him is that I want to know you. So at that time, the only way I knew how to communicate with him was through my rosary. But if you just surrender yourself to God and say, God, I want to know you, he will just reveal himself to you. So that's my testimony, and be blessed.